All right. Well, there's a poem by the same name that I made another video for. Courage is a delight. I've been thinking about this a lot, reading about it a lot, just a lot of things kind of coming together in culmination. I think for myself too, how given I am to pessimism, which I'm going to talk about in this video, that there is this sensation that I had of like that being cowardly, right? Of sadness and sorrow and despair, then especially coming across this piece in C.S. Lewis's Screw Tape Letters that was like the final nail in the coffin, that was talking about how despair is a greater sin than anything that causes it, at the very least. And just this idea that everything that's good requires courage, which is in my poem. If you haven't seen that, you should go check it out because it's kind of the precursor to this. But everything that's good, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control, are things that are born out of courage. So cowardice is the opposite of that, right? It would be despair, it would be hopelessness, it would be all these different things. And I think I've realized that even in conversations with people that I kind of fall into hopelessness, and I feel like I've seen other people do that as well. And so maybe I'm just preaching to myself here, but I feel like there's something really important here. And so we're going to talk about it. And so first, let's define some of our terms. Part 1, definitions. Courage is the will to face reality, especially anything that ends up championing life. And so it is to maintain your convictions under the threat of punishment or pain or future consequence. Anything that moves you towards life, even if it's fearful. The opposite of that would be cowardice, right? Which is to shrink away. So you shrink, you shirk, and you evade convictions, especially you evade pain, right? You're looking to get away from consequence. Cowardice is everything that moves you away from life. If life can be simplified down to cause and effect, courage is looking to be the cause of a good effect. Cowardice is looking to be the non-cause of a bad effect. It's just looking to not make bad stuff happen, whereas courage is the actual looking to making good things happen. Cowardice itself is interesting because there's 3 main manifestations of it. We're going to talk about courage, but courage manifests itself the same way in all people, which is also really cool. But cowardice seems to come at different angles. All happy families are alike, but all unhappy families are unhappy in their own way. Anyone who is courageous will act in a consistent manner, but people who are cowardly will act in any number of other ways, right? So cowardice has 3 main manifestations, and those tend to be derision, indifference, and deprivation, right? So derision is just making fun of, deriding, right? And so it is to put something down. This is stupid, that is stupid, you are stupid, I am stupid. The second thing is indifference, and the next step usually is just emotional disconnection, which is, well, I didn't want to anyway. It's fine, I don't really get anything out of it, it's not that good, I don't need to do this, whatever, I don't care, right? And so that's the second step. And the last thing is deprivation, which is the culmination of it, right? Which is, I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to try that again, right? And there's this sensation that that is reasonable, right? You try to tell the truth to someone you love, and when you speak that out, you do everything you can think to do. You're managing your emotions, you're speaking articulately, you're sharing your feelings with them in every way that you can think is good and right and helpful and conducive to connection, and in the end you get hurt. And cowardice in your mind says, okay, not going to do that again. And there's a part of you that feels like that's justified and that's reasonable, which goes straight into part 2, perspectives. Perspectives are how we see the world, and breaking them down into the big 3 that we normally think of when we think about how someone sees the world. The glass of water, right? Is it half full, half empty, or does it depend on which way the water is flowing, right? Or the realist, right? Pessimist, realist, optimist. We all know the 3. So let's start with pessimism. Pessimism seems like the most obvious representation of cowardice, but that might not necessarily be the case. They're kind of independent, but this is what we're going to do. I am going to break them down specifically as it relates to courage. We're not going to get too off the rails here. There's a lot more I could talk about, and that, look forward to that in a future video about pessimism, realism, and optimism, but we're going to do the crash course right now. So pessimism itself is that thing which looks into every situation and finds consequence, failure, and pain. You look into your past and you go, everything I have done has been, either of no consequence, which is it's been nothing good and only pain and suffering. Therefore, everything in my future will be likewise, right? Everything in the past that has happened is bad. Everything in the future that will happen is bad. pessimism. Realism is kind of this thing in between, and a lot of people imagine that being a realist is courage, and it's not. You're actually wrong. We have this idea that pessimism presents itself as though it is a good approximation of reality. And it's not. Jordan Peterson talks about this in his lectures, where he talks about that cynicism functionally wears all of the clothing of wisdom, right? Of rightness, of holiness and experience, but it has none of the tools to actually deal with reality, right? It is cowardice. It is anti-life. It opposes you. It pushes you back from the things that you want to do. Therefore, it is not courageous, and it's actually not the best approximation of reality, even though we like to think that it is. We think of like the suffering artist or the troubled physicist, these people that look out and everything's meaningless and everything's stupid, as though they are the ones who see reality in its rawest, most naked form, and that is simply not true. In fact, they're missing so much of what life is. It is a very poor approximation of reality. Realism actually isn't much better. Let's, before we continue, talk about Aristotelian logic, especially as it comes to virtue. So in his virtue ethics, in his Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle talks about how the measure of a virtue is its effect. His argument, in my understanding, is that if something is virtuous, then it is an action that people take. And if it is an action that people take, it produces people of greater virtue. The person doing that becomes a more virtuous person by doing it. And that, in a lot of ways, is the measure of a virtue, right? And his virtue is this idea of the middle way, that there is a way in the middle that is the mean, right, or the average, in between two vices. And so every virtue has two vices, right? One of the vices is its lack. So when we talk about courage, the lack of courage would be cowardice. And then we would think about its excess. An excess of courage could be thought about as brashness or hyper-ambition or other things that aren't good, that we know aren't good. And so courage is the virtue, and then we get these things on either side, which are the vices. The same spirit, but in incorrect proportions, right? And so it is the spirit of courage, either too much of it and not enough of other stuff, which is brashness, or not enough of it and too much of other things, which is cowardice, right? So with that in mind, we would like to imagine that realist then is the virtue. The thing in between optimism and pessimism must then be the mean. It must be the middle way, which according to Aristotle, right, it should be the best way to understand reality. But that's not true, right? And the reason that that's not true, and the reason we can think about that, is because of its effects. The realist is as they are. In fact, they stay as they are. Realism in and of itself does not drive a person to be more virtuous. By Aristotle's definition, if that was the best estimation of reality, it should produce the most virtuous people. But it doesn't. Actually, in general, realism produces the most indifferent people. At least pessimists are sad. But realists tend to be indifferent. Things are as they are. And the problem with that is it does not produce the best person. They are neither the happiest, nor the most competent, nor the most virtuous. Which means we can't then conclude that realism is the best way to perceive things, at least in this format. So then what is it that produces the most virtuous person? Well, that is the optimist. And I mean optimism in a specific way. Optimism is to look into any situation or thing and find the beauty of it. The beauty, the delight, the things in there that are amazing. Technically, by its definition, optimism is that all things that have happened are the best things that could have happened, and all things that will happen are the best things that could have happened. And I think that's maybe a silly way to live, because I find that to be untrue. I feel like when you look into history, you can clearly see that better things could have happened, right? And when you think about the future, you are inclined, convicted to act because you realize that better things could happen. And so optimism is more the allowance, the understanding that better things can happen, but also that by our actions, by our conduct, we can bring those about. The realist would look at the situation and go, okay, yeah, bad things have happened and bad things will happen. And yeah, there's some stuff I can do, but bad things will continue to happen. The optimist says there are things I can do that if I did them, if everyone did them, then the world in its totality would be a delightful place. And that kind of optimism, that kind of drive is courageous in a world filled with suffering. It is interesting how the mean, or what we think is the mean, is not. It's not helpful. C.S. Lewis writes in his Screwtape Letters that in heaven there will be music and silence. And that's it. And in hell there will be noise. To be courageously optimistic is to look and search and find music and silence in all things. And that is beautiful. Think about that. Think about optimism, because this is important. Okay. Part 3. Indulgence versus offense. Indulgence is where we sacrifice our convictions for pleasure. Offense is where we sacrifice our pleasure for convictions. Neither are good. Actually, they're both vices. They both lack something integral, and the thing that they lack is the thing we are looking for. What do both of them lack that if we had it, we could do better? Indulgence desires what it knows it can have. Offense rejects what it thinks it can't have. And so offense is built upon this, you cannot have your cake and eat it too. Indulgence is, well, I can eat the cake, who cares if I have it tomorrow, right? And both of them are missing something very important. So let's look at this in real applications. Imagine you're having a conversation with someone, your romantic partner, your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, right? Someone in your life that's important to you, even a friend, right? Or anyone that you feel misunderstood by. Let's say that they have said something that upsets you. You feel this welling of emotion, right? You have two options, and your options in that moment seem to be indulgence or offense. Let's talk about indulgence first. Indulgence is this idea that you feel the sensation and you are going to just let it out. Right? You're going to be yourself, express yourself, whatever you want to call that, and you let this explode out of you. You're going to speak freely, say what's on your mind, and the idea behind this is twofold. One, self-defense. You feel that someone has said something or done something to harm you, and so you're retaliating to that. Whether they knew they did it, whether they did it on purpose, is now irrelevant. The indulgence of your emotion is to punish the other person. That's one thing. The other thing, though, is also to force, basically emotionally strong-arm someone into compassion or empathy. The idea behind it is that we're going to force someone else to feel the way we feel, afraid, offended, disconnected, and in the hopes that that will produce some sort of compassion or empathy in them when they realize what we are feeling, right? Maybe we've all done this before, like, in your shower arguments, right? You're having an argument with someone and you blow up at them, and then they become small and they go, oh my gosh, I didn't know you felt like that. I didn't realize, thank you for showing me that. And then we're applauded, right? And in the shower, the water hitting the ground is people clapping for us, right? But it doesn't work like that. It doesn't. That doesn't work, right? And so we have this idea of indulgence, and the terrible part, the worst part about indulgence is that it doesn't work. The fact that we had an emotion and allowed it out of us, that's forgivable, understandable, that's human even. The fact that we wanted someone else to feel what we feel so they could connect with us, that's forgivable too, understandable. But the fact that it doesn't work, that is unforgivable. The fact that we keep doing it when it doesn't work. Indulgence doesn't work. It doesn't bring us into connection. It does not manifest the Spirit of God in your life. When you indulge your emotions, it does not, in that moment, bring you closer to the love of God. It does not manifest the fruit of the Spirit: peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control, faithfulness, right? All of those things are lost in that moment. So we know indulgence can't be the thing we're looking for, right? And if it's done, there's forgiveness and there is understanding, and relationships can weather storms like that, but it's not the ideal. And what we're talking about right now is what the ideal is. What is courageous? Indulgence is not courageous. That is cowardly. It is something born out of fear. So let's look at the other side of the coin. Instead of indulgence, let's think about offense. You feel trapped. And this is true. When you feel fearful, it feels like options converge. You have less possibility, less opportunity to do things, right, that are meaningful or that could move us towards connection. What we do is we converge it, right, to simply indulgence or offense. And that's what it feels like our only two options are. But that's not true. And so even now, as I talk about like, oh, indulging your emotions is bad, there's probably still a voice maybe in your mind or in someone's mind that you can imagine that is the spirit of cowardice that goes, wait, hold on. If I can't say how I'm feeling, then what am I supposed to do? Right? That's stupid because what's my other option? Right? Derision, indifference. It's like, okay, well, whatever. I guess I just won't say anything, right? Which is indifference, and we'll get to offense. But that's also deprivation, which is, okay, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that again. All of those things are manifestations of the spirit of cowardice. Offense is choosing convictions over pleasure. Now, you think, especially the more conservative mind, would think that that is the best course of action, right? The liberal mind feels that there is something important, like the liberality of, the liberation of expressing your emotion, expressing who you are, the beauty of that, the poetry of that, the fact that in ordered relationship, there should be allowance for that, right? And that's the focus. But for a more conservative bent, the thing you're more likely to see is virtue, is rightness, is self-control, and indulgence doesn't represent those things. So the way we can do that instead is we can offend the desires in us. We can pretend like they don't exist. So take the same scenario. You're having this conversation, it's going hard, you're feeling these emotions well up in you, and the thing you choose to do instead is offend your emotion, which is you bite your tongue. You realize the dangers that could come out from indulging this idea, and so instead you block it. And you just stop feeling everything. But that's just indifference. And that's derision. If you were to share your emotions, you would feel like, oh, I was stupid. I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I told them how I was feeling. That's derision. Indifference, which is just, okay, I'm not going to tell them. And we're going to deal with whatever comes. All of that stuff, though, is not courage. Silence can be beautiful. But it, in and of itself, should be worship. In heaven there is only music and silence, but silence of that kind, your silence, is no silence at all. It doesn't create peace. Again, it does not manifest the Spirit of God. It doesn't create hope. It doesn't create life. It doesn't drive you towards courage. That is antithetical to life, because a relationship where nothing is shared is no relationship at all. And we know that that's the case. You have to share things together in order to have a relationship. Sometimes that means verbal, but often it just means the ability to express yourself. That's an important part of relationship. Again, a lot of these things will come up. You'll think in your mind, you'll go, okay, pearls before swine. I can't share my emotions with them. They can't understand. Derision, right? Indifference. Well, I didn't need to tell them anyway. I have other things I can do. I can go home and read the Bible. I can pray to God and find that connection. So I don't really need them anyway. Indifference. That is cowardice. I know a lot of people want to hide behind that, but that is cowardice. God has called us to people. God has called us to minister to people. And so you letting relationships fall apart for the reason that you can just go home and have a relationship with God is missing the point. You are acting the coward. That is not the courage of the Lord. And we're just trying to do these like emotional gymnastics to make sure that we don't have to be courageous, which is insanity. Now this is important too. I feel that a lot of people that offend themselves, their own emotions, their own desires, imagine that they're at peace, imagine that their lives are happy. But the only reason I feel that they sense that is because they've given up on the things that are beautiful, the things that are lovely, the things in themselves that are weak, that are sensitive, that should be allowed to live. And we'll talk about that in a second. But let's think about our options now. We can't indulge the emotion, and we can't shut up. All right. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? It seems like I can't win. It seems like there's nothing I can do. Any way I go, I'm wrong. Remember the beginning, the dilemma. Reject the dilemma. The dilemma is cowardice. The contradiction is dimensionally dependent. You've constrained it. It doesn't exist, or at least it doesn't exist where you think it does. And you can't even prove where it does. Do not indulge hopelessness. To feel like you have no options is okay, but to indulge that is sin. You have options. There is something better here, but it requires something of you. It demands something of you, and that's hard. It actually demands something of you before the moment. It demands that you open your eyes. Somewhere inside of you, your hope is still alive, and it hates what you've done to it. Let's take indulgence, for instance. If you were in a relationship with someone and they had no long-term dreams of their own, and every time conflict arose, all they wanted to do was just give you what you wanted, how long would that relationship last? Not long at all. In fact, it wouldn't be a relationship. So when you do that to yourself, why do you imagine your relationship with yourself would get better? On the other side, imagine you're in a relationship, but that every time conflict arises, they try to stop you. They try to shut you down. Anything you would want, they tell you is wrong, and they try to force you into doing these things they think are right. That relationship wouldn't last very long either. Why do you think your relationship with yourself would get better under the same tyranny? You would never stay in a relationship with someone else like that. And yet, you continue to maintain and perpetuate that relationship with yourself. You are a tyrant. You are a coward. And I am too. I'm no better. But there is something better. So what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to die. What part is this? 1, 2, 3, 4. Part 5. Delight. I'm not going to leave you with nothing. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I don't know the answer. I don't know what you're supposed to do. No, I feel like I found something. And I feel like I need to share it. Like I was digging in a field and I dug something up, and now I've got to tell everyone that it's there, and I'm going to bring everyone and we're going to have a party about it, and it's going to be awesome because I want to share it with everyone. And that is something I didn't even find, something that was shared with me. Gratitude. And I mean this seriously. If we are to perceive reality as it is, we must look, and we must see, and we must realize the gift that life is. We are not owed anything, and I mean that. Maybe you've heard that before, but everything you have is a gift. You do not wake up with 24 hours in your pocket. It comes to you 1 second at a time, and every second that comes is a gift. You did nothing for it. You didn't earn it. Every breath in your lungs, the breath that you breathe, you could not earn. There's nothing you could do to earn all the things you've already used. The debt of your existence is something you cannot pay, but also something that you don't have to. All our good Father wants, all any good father wants, is not to be repaid for the life that they've given to their children, but that their children may delight in the life that they've been given, that they may be grateful for it. What do any good parents want but to see their child happy, healthy, and grateful for the life that they live? I'm not even a father, but when I imagine my children, I can imagine of no blessing greater than seeing them enjoy themselves, enjoy their own children, the pleasure of life. C.S. Lewis writes in Screwtape Letters that God himself is a hedonist, that he has sown pleasure into everything we do. He's sown beauty into everything he's created, and yet we are bent on seeing treachery everywhere we look, and pain and misery, and finding it. We're digging through gold to find dirt, and then carrying the dirt around and throwing the gold out. But life is beautiful. And if we are to have any other options in our interactions with others, we have to start realizing that. We have to realize that the defenses we've been using don't work, and that there's something better here, that life itself is beautiful. And this is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to do. This is what I've been doing, and it's changed my life. Every night before I go to bed, I close my eyes, and I just think of the day, and I think about everything I'm grateful for, and I just thank God for it. I mean, everything. You know, my brother shared with me the other day about a birding app, and now I'm thanking God for the birds. I read a book called How to Do Nothing, and she talked about biodiversity, and the beauty of that, and the fact that we don't know the names of trees or leaves or plants. And so now I still don't know the names, but every time I see a plant, I think about how grateful I am for it. Every time I eat breakfast, I think about how delicious it is. Every time I'm with friends, I think about how wonderful that is. And it all started with this. All I did every night was I closed my eyes and I thought about everything throughout the day, and I turned my attention towards what I'm grateful for. And every morning when I woke up, I realized all the gifts God wants to give me. That God wants to give me. As a good father, he desires to give me air to breathe. He desires to give me a life to live. He desires to give me every second that comes my way, and that I can receive all of that as a gift. And the gratitude for it. And I don't just mean gratitude, because gratitude is the first step. To be grateful for it is one thing, but to delight in it is the next thing. It's one thing to say thank you, but if you got someone a Christmas gift, imagine you get them a gift, right? And they get it and they show so much gratitude. They're, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then, halfway through the year, you go over and it's still in the box. There's something that hurts inside of you. Why? Because they haven't delighted in it. Maybe they really are grateful. Maybe they really were. But there's something else. There's something better there. We want them to delight in it. But if you go over and it's well used and they go, let me make you something. You bought them a coffee machine or something. And they go, let me make you coffee with this amazing coffee machine. I use it every day and it's wonderful. Doesn't that bring you delight? The fact that they delighted in it, the fact that you gave them a gift that is beautiful, isn't that how our Father in heaven feels when we utilize the seconds that he's given to us, when we utilize the breath he's put into our lungs? So be grateful, but be delightful. Delight. Chesterton says that we have sinned and grown old, and our Father is yet younger than we. It might not be that every daisy is created the same out of necessity. It might be that God creates each one by hand, and he enjoys the process so much that he creates them all the same and delights in it every time. Every morning he speaks to the sun as it rises and says, do it again. And every day he delights in it. We have sinned and grown old. And the fact that we feel like we don't have options when we interact with people, we feel disconnected from others, disconnected from ourselves, disconnected from our lives. If we are to have options, if we are to seek connection and love and seek what God has for us, we have to look at what God is giving us. We don't know what we can build unless we know what materials we have and what tools we can use. So, then, it is gratitude and delight that then leads us to courage. But how? Why? Why would we fight? Nietzsche says that humans can endure anyhow as long as they know the why. That suffering itself can always be endured. More than that, suffering itself can be a delight. Do not reject a pain which might welcome you. A pain as a consequence of courage can be beautiful. The fact that you fought for something is beautiful, and the pain that comes with that can be a delight. Don't reject a pain that might welcome you. Icarus laughed as he fell, for he knew to have fallen meant to have soared. If you choose to be courageous, you're right, other people might not. It doesn't mean you're automatically going to be understood. This is not a methodology for control or manipulation. It doesn't mean that if you act courageously and you don't give in to indulgence and you don't give in to offense, that all of a sudden someone's going to understand you and someone's going to connect with you. That's not what that means, but it does mean the opportunity is there. But if they don't, laugh as you fall. Not at them, but continue to invite them into something better, into connection. Be grateful for them and the amazing person they are, and the fact that you can't conceive of them. And if you can't connect with them, then find a way to delight in them, whatever that looks like. But that is what God has called to you, because that person is a gift. That person is a bearer of the image of God. No matter how crazy they seem, there is a way that you can be grateful for them, and there is a way that you can delight in them. No matter what, God delights in us regardless of our sin. And yes, we are human and we fail and fall short, but it doesn't mean we aren't called to it. Be perfect then, as your heavenly Father is perfect. This is courage. This is courage. To face pain. And not just to eat it, not just to grit your teeth and take it. It is to find delight in it, find purpose in it, find beauty in it. That is courageous. That life itself, that pain is a part of it, and that we can fight for that too, and through that. This is why anyone has gone to war. Your defenses don't work. That's what's unforgivable. Your indulgence doesn't work. Your offense of yourself doesn't work. You have built walls that don't keep out the enemy because the enemy's already inside. You've built roofs that don't hold out the rain or the sun. You've built streets that don't take you to where you want to go. You want the fruit of the Spirit. You want peace, patience, goodness. You want joy. You want connection. You want cooperation with the people around you. And the things that you've done to defend yourself aren't getting you any closer. We're living in some perpetual Halloween. We get hurt and we grow old and we put on the skin of the thing that hurt us. We were hurt because someone else was indifferent, and so we put on indifference. We were hurt because someone else derided us, so we put on derision. We were hurt because someone else deprived us, and so we put on deprivation. We deprive ourselves before they can, or we deprive other people of our love or our connection or our presence. And we walk around with this skin on us, hoping that that will make the monsters go by us, that they won't notice we're soft and fleshy and weak and vulnerable. But only when we take it off. Only when we become grateful enough for goodness and delight in it enough to remove evil from us. Only then do we realize that every other monster, every other spirit, every other apparition was just people. People trying to survive. So to be courageous is to not survive, not try to survive. It is to love life so much that you don't fear death. At least not a death that comes from any courage. Men have always gone to war for the same reason. And it is to defend the weak. Great men have always found glory in war because of how they defended weakness. The widow, the orphan, the woman, the child, anyone who couldn't fight, that's what they went to war for. They went to war to protect them, to make a world where they could live and exist and not be afraid. So why is it that you go to war against your own vulnerability? There's no glory in slaughtering women and children. There's no honor in you destroying yourself and your sensitivity. There's no glory in it. There's no courage in it. There's no honor in it. There never has been, and there isn't now. You aren't stronger because of the ways you killed the child in you. You aren't stronger because of the way you destroyed your sensitivity. You are weaker, and you are more the coward. If your defenses are defenses at all, then they must make a world for the sensitive, for the weak, for the vulnerable. And if your defenses do not make allowance for your sensitivity and your vulnerability, then they're no defenses at all. They're tyrants. You've brutalized yourself. No wonder you don't trust yourself. No wonder you won't listen to yourself. Why would you? You are a tyrant. But you don't have to be. There is something better. You can fight for a different reason, and you can fight a different fight. You can delight in yourself and who God has made you to be. Yes, you're right, there's things that are wrong, but God still finds delight in us, even with the wrong. He died for us while we were yet sinners. You can too. That's what you're called to. Fight then, and know why you fight. Remember the delight. The warrior will throw his life away to defend his wife and his children, because he knows they are delightful. Even if he's not there to enjoy it, he knows that they are so delightful, so beautiful, that they are worth dying for, that they are worthy of sacrifice, that the delight that God has sown into our reality is worthy of death and all the pain that might come. Cowardice is not the way, and it's not getting us closer to the life that we want or the life that God has for us. Courage, yes, is painful, but it's better. That pain is better because it's for a reason. Maybe there's even more pain, but it's not suffering because it's still delightful. The sacrifice that we make for sensitivity, for gentleness, for childlikeness is worth it. If your defenses are not defending sensitivity, then they are cowardice. Courage is found in delight. So delight in life, in love, in your own mind, in the blessings that you've been given of your own body, in everything that God has bestowed on you. Delight. Do not forget that we have a good Father who gives good gifts. Delight first, and courage will come. So come with me as we keep musing. And check out my other videos, because I'm hoping to stick with this. So if you know me, like, comment, subscribe. I'm on this train. I've felt very convicted about pursuing writing, pursuing this, especially in light of gratitude, especially in light of the delight that I've been taking in my own writing, in the ways I feel that God has gifted me with the time, with the space, with all these different things, the people in my life to have amazing conversations. And so I want to continue to share this with you. If you see me in person, bring it up. Let's talk about it. If you're on here, then message me, leave a comment, something like that. I'm going to respond to all the comments, obviously, because there's going to be like 2 of them. And so probably one from my mom. Hi, Mom. And so, yeah. But I want to talk about this. I think it's cool. And I feel like I have been talking to some people about it. This feels important, and it's important to me. And I've felt so much life through it. And that's all the things I want to keep making these videos about, because this isn't the only thing. There's a lot of other things, right, that I've found that are amazing and worth sharing. So I really do hope you keep coming with me. If you want to read the script for this, I didn't totally read off of it, but it's all the ideas. I wrote it down first and then did this video. If you want to read the script, it's over on my Substack. I hope you check that out too. I'll be making some more poems and putting those out, but this is going to be the format. This is my idea. On Mondays, I'm going to make a poem that's kind of talking about the thing I want to talk about. And then I'm going to make this, what I call musings. Haha. Yeah, you get it. You get it. It's funny because, no, you get it. So I hope you do join me. And I hope you keep coming. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you message me. I hope you bring it up when we're talking. I love talking about this stuff. I hope you can see that. I hope you can see I'm passionate about that. Yeah, I want people living their best lives. Our Savior came that we might have life, and life more abundantly. And I feel like too many people are settling for good enough. And that makes me upset. Because better is here. It is here. It's around us. It's in us already. If only we had eyes to see. So come with me as we keep peeling back things away from our eyes. And as we keep musing.